a chef and TV
His
personality.
appearances on Top Chef Canada.
Chopped Canada.
The first Indo-Canadian restaurant Dragon's Den.
Cookbook off the best Indian
Celebrities
restaurant.
would line up at his restaurant.
Larger than life character.
To you, who is Vikram?
Namaste, I'm Chef Vikram Vij, owner of Vij's in Cambie Village. I grew up in India, I was born in India, but I always wanted to be a Bollywood actor. I wanted to run around trees and dance and things like that. And then one day my father kind of shattered my dreams and said, no son of mine is going to become an actor. And I was like, totally taken back. And I was like, what do I want to be now? What do I want to do? I wasn't really that smart in studies. Like I had a scatterbrain. I was always dreaming. I was always looking at stars. So I was like, what do I love to do? I said, I love people. I loved stage. I love acting. So I went from India to Austria to become a chef. I went to study hotel management there. And I realized that was my calling. I loved the restaurant industry. I loved the cooking, the creativity behind it, sourcing of the ingredients, putting the whole thing together. It literally became my passion. And now it's an addiction. I love welcoming people and saying hello and, being larger than life. We were in a small little town near Salzburg, a place called Bad Hofgestein. So yes, you would think that, you're in Salzburg in this romantic place, but you're just like a little speck who's just trying to survive with the language, with the barriers of being an Indian, culturally, so an extremely tough journey for the first, I would say, year. So I applied for a place and I worked in the kitchen for 3 months. That's when the full personality came about and said, oh my God, I love it. Because until that point, I was just studying and learning this, and it was fascinating. But the actual using of the ingredients, making the salads, tasting the salads, creating food, that is where the feeling of like, I really do belong here. I really belong in the kitchen. Then I also want to work with people. And I want to see how the food that I've cooked, how does it feel when they eat it? In Salzburg, you classically learn French cooking. You don't learn Indian cuisine, you don't learn world cooking. I mean, there's maybe a small little chapter in a book, but mostly it was always about French techniques. So if you look at it, I'm classically a French-trained chef. But I must say, there was a transformation happening in my mind that I had been for 10 years working under French chefs, with French chefs, and I realized that why does my Indian cuisine not get the same respect and love as French and Italian or Californian or Japanese cuisine gets? Why am I not getting that love? My father had said to me that I think we should open up a restaurant. In his mind, we should just open up a mainstream traditional Indian restaurant because it was a business for him. For me, it is a little bit like, here's my platform to showcase who I am as a chef and to showcase the cuisine, the depth of the culture, the depth of the history of the culture, the style of it. So that platform was created, that first restaurant was created, and it kind of changed over the time. I met Miru and, she took over the kitchen and she started experimenting with things. I took the front of the house role, and so we ran the restaurant. We never sat there and said, oh, here's a business plan, let's go this way. It was always a slow evolvement. The menus, the way we were doing things, what I was hearing back from people, I would convey that to Miru and say, Miru, let's do this. We'd been getting a little bit of attention, from the food writers that we were doing something different, and with the wine list, for example, using only local wines and local beers and remaining focused and me being on the floor and making sure everybody was well taken care of. bringing out chai to people who were waiting for a table, because at that time, nobody brought chai to people. Everybody thought about the food cost. I didn't care about the food cost. I just wanted them to stay with me and be with me here at the restaurant. So small things we were doing that were working really well for us. But one day, a writer called Mark Bittman from New York Times came to Vij's and had dinner. And then he had this column in New York Times called 72 Hours in a City. And in that column, he mentions, and he says, amongst the finest Indian restaurants in the world. And literally, the lineups went from a 15-minute wait for a table to suddenly a 2-hour wait for a table. It just jumped. And I just couldn't accommodate people. There was no way I could ask people to wait for that long. And I was turning away so many people on Granville Street. So many people. Martha Stewart waited, Goldie Hawn, Kirk Russell waited, Sarah McLachlan waited at that, because the restaurant was so small. Here we are able to accommodate people. I think my biggest honor was Mick Jagger was here for dinner. Harry and Meghan were here for dinner with Michael Bublé, and Hilary Swank was in for dinner the other night. It's a big honor to have them there, but you still have to be very focused at what you do and just continue working at what you do and do it really well. Now we are officially recognized as a cuisine, and to win more awards, and then we started winning Best Indian Award at Vancouver magazine. That was very, very great and supportive of us. But it became more apparent when Tony Bourdain was in town and we did that show called No Reservations, and he took me and Pino and Tojo, and we did a dinner and we walked around the cuisine. I think that to me was like, wow. I mean, I had read his book, Kitchen Confidential. I loved him so much. And the fact that he was actually showcasing Vij's and being part of the No Reservation show was a big honor for me. And I think that's when I felt like, oh, okay, we are being taken seriously, that we have given the respect to the cuisine and the culture of India, where I came from, but also respecting Austria and my culinary journey of where I started. As Vij's was getting popular and getting some attention, out of the blue, there was a local company that was producing chopped Canada. My name was put forward as one of the judges to be on the show, and I did chopped Canada. And it was so funny because this was the first time an Indian chef was being asked to be on such a national show. Then chopped finished, and then Top Chef asked, and that was a big honor as well. But I think my biggest element or change was when I did Dragon's Den. To be asked to be the first Indo-Canadian dragon on a Dragon's Den show was and is a huge honor still. If a cook can become a dragon one day, so can you if you just follow your dreams. So to me, that motivational aspect of it, to be able to give hope and show that you can achieve what you want, you just have to persevere and work hard at it, was to me very, very important. And to me, even it's very dear to me still. Meeru had created this beautiful kitchen of all Punjabi women who were not like unbelievable cooks as such. They didn't go to any culinary schools, but they were just beautiful home cooks. And Meeru was very important in creating this bond between them. And even now, if you look at it in the kitchen, those women have been with us for 31 years, and they're still cooking away, and they don't need to go to a culinary school. They don't need to go to anything fancy. There's no hierarchy there. They come in, they know what they need to make and cook, and they make it with utmost love and passion. I've always run the kitchen as if it's like an Indian village, Somebody has tomatoes, the other one has ginger, the other one has garlic, somebody has vines, somebody has alpacas, and we bring these things together in on a dish. So what you're eating is a beautiful British Columbian product from either Langley or Fraser Valley or Abbotsford or Okanagan, because if we don't support our own farmers, if we don't support our local vendors, if we don't support our local mushroom farmers, nobody else will. We as restaurant owners, it is our responsibility, it is our moral responsibility to support people from our own community. You know, like we made this Pira necklace, my partner and I. It's designed by somebody who lives locally, who's been coming to Vij's for 30 years. You know, it's to commemorate 30 years of Vij's. They opened in 1994. You know, we opened in 1994, and that's what it is. So it's not just about supporting the local, farmer or a produce, but also a local artist, like Dave.
Yeah, my name's David Ives. I am a local artist, and I make artwork that showcases the beauty of reclaimed materials. First time I met Vikram was off the back of sending a flurry of emails over several months. And to my surprise, I did eventually get a reply, and Vikram was open to meeting. So he's a down-to-earth guy, and he's just a normal guy. So he's a nice guy. He's not let the fame go to his head, I don't think, and he's kept a concern and a compassion for local people and local companies, which I think is quite a beautiful thing.
And this person works, his name is Dara Wood Works, and just went to his shop and just saw, oh, what do you have? And he said, well, I've got this hat, and I love it, and it's pure wood, and I love wearing it because it's like, it's wood, it's a piece of history. I love anything wood-based. It's very important to support each other and not always try to look for the cheap stuff.
Getting an piece of artwork up at Vij's was a real high point for me.
Dave is incredibly talented, and I love his passion. He's always very calm and collected, and I love supporting the artists. So, you know, the restaurant Vij's is an extension of my house, of who I am. When you look at elements like a beautiful temple door, that door is an original door from a temple in India. It weighs around 700 pounds, and I don't know the exact age on it, but it is really, really old. And if you look at the door itself, the wooden pieces are carved absolutely gorgeously, and there's little turmeric around it. So it's an original piece of artwork that was brought over here a long time ago, but I just feel that more than the fact that it's a piece of artwork, it's a spiritual piece of artwork. It gives energy to the people, the positivity behind it. Everybody who's sitting in the restaurant is able to get that positive energy, that spiritual energy that comes from a temple door in India. The chai cups on the top of the ceiling. When I was growing up on the trains, these young kids would come onto the train and they would sell you a shot of chai, basically, like an espresso. And you would take the cup and you would basically throw it as the train was leaving, and this, because they're clay pots, they will all break and crush down. See, in India at that time, there was nothing called as plastic. We didn't use plastic. So clay pots was something that we used all the time. But because they were not glazed, you could only use them once. So once they break, those young kids would, once the train left, they would pick up those little clay pots and remake them again and resell them. So it was to honor those young kids. You'll see a little lamps on the patio. These are the lamps from the first restaurant that opened in 1994. They have these Moroccan lamps, and they're beautiful lights in them. And I donated these lamps, or given these lamps, to somebody who was a hairdresser, and he passed away. And his son, after 20 years, called me up last year when I was actually just finishing the rooftop. and said, my father just passed away and he wanted me to give these lamps to you, and would you like to buy them again? And I have them on the top there, and they're the most beautiful piece. And it's part of history for me because that was the first restaurant that my father and I had opened, my mother and I had opened. So the lamps have come back to us at Vij's, and they're hanging beautifully on the top there. Every element of this, even on the rooftop, even on the patio, you'll see, the growing of the mushrooms, the growing of the figs, is to tie in that element of spirituality, great food, great service, and most importantly, inclusivity. It doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter what your background is, doesn't matter what your financial situation is, everyone is loved and welcomed at Vij's. So one of the things that was, okay, now we showcase the food, we bring people to the restaurant. But what happens if you really want to see something authentically, like be there, So 10 years ago, we started these tours going to India. We would go to people's homes and learn how to cook. We would go to restaurants and eat food with the chefs. We would go to people's places, and we created this tour, with Indus Travels, which is the local company here, and also with UBC that does worldwide quest travels. And the idea was never to go as a chef, but the idea is to go as a student, go and learn from that home cook, from that person who makes the best ceviche in Peru, or somebody who does great pisco sours in Cusco, or to go to southern part, somebody's India, and learn how they're making chapati or roti. Because to me, that is the next phase of it. Once you get hooked on the cuisine and you love it, now you want to explore more. When I read that book by Tony Bourdain called The Kitchen Confidential, that was an inspiring book. And now in 2025, we have written a cookbook, my partner Jennifer and I, that has come out to inspire the next generation of young chefs. You always have to make sure that you leave a legacy behind. A legacy is extremely important for me. And I think that is an extremely important part of it, that legacy. The cookbook is a legacy. When I was studying in Austria, it was called Haube, means hats, how many hats you have. So the restaurants were called Ein Haube, Zwei Haube, means 1 hat, 2 hat, 3 star. In French was the Michelin guide, the guide that people loved and swear by it. And we were extremely honored to be on that guide of Michelin and to be recognized as a Bib Gourmand restaurant. For an Indian restaurant is a huge honor. And I cannot say thank you enough to the team, that includes Miru and Oz and Mike and Amarjeet and everybody that have created this wow factor. But I would actually say more than Michelin Guide, the fact that the locals have come and supported me for all these years is a much bigger accolade to me than just getting a star or a recommendation, because that word of mouth that got Vij's where Vij's is still buzzing. I think that's important to create that feeling of community, and I'm really proud today when you look at Cambie Street in 2025. It's vibrant, it's happening. There are restaurants that are opening. Every city should have a little street which should have a little theater, drama. Everybody needs drama in their lives. And should have a great place for food to match and hang out and chill out and make it pretty and walkable. And I think we should be very proud of where we live, which is the Cambie Village. We built this beautiful Taj Mahal, and now people are coming to see this Taj Mahal or taste the food that we've created. So it's not just a business, it's something that we've created. We've created a legacy on Cambie Street.
People will have seen will have seen Vikram on TV. They'll see Vikram with the cookbook. There's people that will have an image of you as a celebrity chef, and people make their own minds up on what that means. To you, who is Vikram?
Vikram is that person that when I was growing up, my grandfather used to always say to me, you know, he would drink and he would say to me, I think you should open up a restaurant one day because you love food. And because he used to drink a lot, he said, I will become the bartender of your restaurant. Because he knew that I could never charge him for alcohol. And so he knew that I had gone to Austria, but he passed away before I had opened the restaurant up. But somewhere up there, I think he looks down. Somewhere down the road, he looks down and sees this green-eyed grandson of his has done exactly what he wanted. Opened up a restaurant, call it Vij's. And I think that is, to me, is that young boy who, he would take me to markets. He would take me to all the grocery markets. We would go grocery shopping on a rickshaw. And I think that dream has come true. Of him seeing it. And that's what Vikram is. Rest of the stuff happened, great. It's a great accolade. But deep down is just this young boy who would listen to his grandfather, who worshipped him because he gave me so much love. And I think that young boy is still Vikram. You know, we talked about I wanted to be a Bollywood actor initially. To be honest with you, my dream has come true. Because at 5:30 when the door opens, the curtains are drawn, I am performing like an orchestra, like a artist, going from table to table, talking to everyone, making sure this is good. The pots are clinging in the kitchen, the yelling is happening in the kitchen, the drama is created, exactly what it happens every day, every night. And then at 10 o'clock, the curtains are drawn back and we all have a staff meal and we talk about the evening and everything else. It is a stage that I'm performing at. So for all my dad's desires that I should not become an actor, I am an actor just serving food and wine and experiences rather than reading somebody else's lines. At least I can say I'm reading my own lines and I'm performing the way I want to perform. I'm not performing a role, I'm performing myself.